So, mind region. After crossing the region of the heart, we enter the first or the super mind of God. No words can express the condition which one feels there. There are only such symptoms as give an idea of this big region. What we gain in the region of the heart is beyond one's conception. Now we take up the highest stage. The essence of the region of the heart is present there. The present form of the universe is due to the actions of that big mind. They are all power, no amalgamation, no light. ಅಂದರೆ ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀ ಪವರ್ ಇದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಲೈಟ್ ದೇರ್. ಗ್ರಾಜುವಲಿ ಲೈಟ್ ಬಿಗಿನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಫೇಡ್ ಅವೇ. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಲೈಟ್ ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಬೈ ದ ಟೈಮ್ ಯು ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅಗೇನ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ನೆಸ್. ಸೊ ಯು ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ನೆಸ್, go through the light, then again you end up in darkness and go beyond that. That is what happens. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸೊ ಈಗ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಲೈಟ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಈಗ ನಾವು ಲೈಟ್ ಬಿಗಿನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಫೇಡ್ ಅವೇ, ಲೈಟ್ ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗೋಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಡಾರ್ಕ್ನೆಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಬಟ್ ದೆನ್ ವೆನ್ ವಿ ರೀಚ್ ನಿಯರ್ ದ ಸೆಂಟರ್ there is no darkness also. That is why we say that our journey is beyond light and darkness. Now when we start the journey, we say that we are in darkness. Now that darkness is in terms of ignorance. We are totally ignorant of everything that is there, and that is why it is called as darkness. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಸೊ ಏನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಎಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಲೈಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್. That is what you need to keep in mind. It's all power, no light there. ಸರಿನಾ? And Babaji now calls this entire mind region. Now ಇಲ್ಲಿ mind region ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ he's calling it from the 11th point onwards. 10th point ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ 11th point ಇಂದ ಮುಂದೆ ಪೂರ್ತಿ up to the ಕ್ಷೋಭ. He calls that as the first mind of God or the super mind of God. ಅದನ್ನ from the 11th point up to the ಕ್ಷೋಭ. We have said that the calmness remains predominant in the region of the heart when it comes in original form. What kind of calmness prevails there is beyond one's conception. But in order to express it somehow or other, I may say that if calmness prevails in the heart region were to be refined, it may roughly express the type or the character of the calmness in the region of the mind. So heart region allu calmness ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ನೆನ್ನೆ ಓದಿದ್ವಿ. Mind region allu calmness ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ, but it's now of a totally different refined nature. It's not just in terms of intensity, it's in terms of the quality. There is a qualitative difference in the calmness between the two regions. It's only an idea of calmness that now remains. In other words, the forgetfulness state of calmness is dominating there, which is not the only term to be acquired. So there's a forgetful state of calmness. ಆ ಕಾಮ್ನೆಸ್ ಹೆಂಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಹೊಟ್ಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಾಲಕ್ರಮೇಣದಲ್ಲಿ. ವಿ ಫರ್ಗೆಟ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕಾಮ್. ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂತ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಕಾಮ್ನೆಸ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ, ಈಗ ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಬಂತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವರ ಅನುಭವ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ಲಿ ವೆನ್ ವಿ ಎಂಟರ್ ದಿಸ್ ರೀಜನ್. ಇಟ್ ರಿಮೈನ್ಸ್ ನೌ ಆನ್ ಒನ್ಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಟು ಫೀಲ್. ಫ್ರಮ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕಮ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ಶೇಪ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಲೈಟ್. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಸ್ ದ ಪವರ್ ಡಿಸೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಡೌನ್ and it enters into the heart region, things start acquiring shape and light. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಹೋಯಿತು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಪವರ್. ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಪವರ್, ಅನುಭವ ಶಕ್ತಿ. ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋಷನ್, invisible motions when multiplying together with the idea of creation increase the downward force. The outcome is the innumerable varieties we find in the universe. It is beyond ethereal force. ನಮ್ಕ ಇದೆಯಾ? 5ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಯಾವುದು? ಯಾವ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟು? ಐದನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಯಾವ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟು? ಯಾವ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? ಗಾಳಿ ತಗೊಂಡೇ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ.
ಏರ್.
ಏರ್ ಇಯರ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಏರ್. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸೊ 10ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ 11ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಬರೋಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಈ ಬುಕ್ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಏರ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ನ ದಾಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಇಥೇರಿಯಲ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ನ ದಾಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ನೂ ದಾಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಆ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 2 ಕಡೆ ಸ್ಪೇಸ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಂತು, 2nd ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ 7th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ದಾಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ. 2 ಕಡೆ ಏರ್ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಂತು, ಅದನ್ನು ದಾಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿಸಿ ಸಮಗ್ರವಾಗಿ ಹಿ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬಿಯಾಂಡ್ ದ ಎಥೇರಿಯಲ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. Air does not blow here because it's the region beyond the region of the air. This is the most powerful region of the God. For your understanding, you may call it the powerhouse for setting the godly machinery working. The mind region is that is the powerhouse. And the entire thing below that, from the 10th point downwards, that is set to work by this power, which is there in the mind region. 11 to 13. Second. Motionless things appearing as invisible motion that excite vibrations are there and have great power. It is very difficult to explain this idea, which can only be felt. Motionless things ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಪವರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಇಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೈನ್ ಅಪಿಯರ್ಸ್ ಟು ಲೈ ಡಾರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಟ್ ವೆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಟಚ್ಡ್ ಆರ್ ವರ್ಕ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ದ ಪವರ್. People may doubt how calmness can abide when motion is there, imperceptible though it may be. I would say that there is calmness in refined form and it is imperceptible, just as the idea about creation is expressed as imperceptible. Still, it is something after all. ಸೊ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ನ ಯಾರು ಫೀಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಆದರೆ ಅದರದ್ದು ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ನ ನಾವು ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದನ್ನ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ದ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಫೀಲಬಲ್ ಆರ್ ಪ್ಯಾಲ್ಪಬಲ್ ಬೈ ಎನಿಬಡಿ. It's not perceivable, but the effect is there. Likewise, the same thing is happening here in terms of the calmness. The effect is there. We have not yet come to the point expressed as nothingness or zero. When we enter this state, when can we enter this state? Only when we make ourselves as such. We have to make ourselves as zero or nothingness. Then we can enter into a state of nothingness. We get power from the first mind of the God to reach the state of zero. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ಸೆಂಟರ್ವರೆಗೂ ಝೀರೋವರೆಗೂ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ಹೆಂಗ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪವರ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಾಡ್ ಪ್ರೊವೈಡ್ಸ್ ದ ಪವರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ವಿಚ್ ಈವನ್ ಏಂಜಲ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರೇವ್ ಫಾರ್. ದ ಏರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಿ ಫೆಲ್ಟ್ ಬೈ ಹಿಮ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಹಿಮ್ ಅಲೋನ್ ಹೂ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಅಬ್ಯಾಂಡೆಡ್ ಆಲ್ ಏರ್ಸ್, ಹೂ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ಎ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಡೆಡ್. ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರ್ತೀನಿ, ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಎಂಟರ್ ಆಗೋಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ವಿ ಎಂಟರ್ ಇನ್ ಟು ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಡೆಡ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. ಎ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ನೆಗೇಷನ್ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಲಿವಿಂಗ್ ಡೆಡ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನಮಗೆ ವಿ ದೆನ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಪವರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಾಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಸ್ ಅಸ್ ಫರ್ದರ್ ಜರ್ನಿ. ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜನ್ಸ್ ಟು ನೌ ವ್ಯಾನಿಷಸ್ ದೋ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ದೇ ರಿಮೈನ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್. ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿ ಪ್ರಕಟ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಡಾಸ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಟ್ ಅಂತ ಓದಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಈಗ ಅದು ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜನ್ಸ್ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಅದು ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಹೋದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬಟ್ ವೇರ್ ದೇ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ರಿಮೈನ್ ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜನ್ಸ್ ಟು ನೌ ವ್ಯಾನಿಷಸ್ ದೋ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ದೇ ರಿಮೈನ್ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್. ಎಫಲ್ಜನ್ಸ್ ಹೊರಟೋಯ್ತು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಏನೋ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ವೇರ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಅ ಲಿಟಲ್ ವೇ ಆಫ್, ದೆನ್ ದಟ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ಸ್ ವೇ. It means that you are now making preparation for entering the stage which you have to attain. The limit of the divine effulgence extends only a little way further, beyond which remains mere conception. Go ahead and that door is gone, expression now fails and the region of the mind is crossed. ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜನ್ಸ್ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಗಿದೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಪ್ರಿಡಾಮಿನೆಂಟ್ ಫೀಚರ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಮ್ನೆಸ್, ದೇರ್ ಈಸ್ ಫುಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಪವರ್ ಬಟ್ ನೋ ಲೈಟ್. ಏನ ಕಾಮ್ನೆಸ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಎಸೆನ್ಷಿಯಲಿ ಎ ರಿಫೈನ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಮ್ನೆಸ್. ಆಯ್ತಾ? ವೇರ್ ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎನ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ಕಾಮ್ನೆಸ್ ರಿಮೈನ್ಸ್, ಆರ್ ಇವನ್ ದ forgetfulness state of calmness prevails. That's the idea of the calmness. Heart region, you are able to clearly perceive the calmness. But when you enter into the mind region, that calmness now becomes so refined that it becomes less and less perceivable. In other words, you become forgetful of it. This is the second thing. It's only power, no light. What is there? There are invisible motions. Motionless things appearing as invisible motion are there, which excite vibrations, but they are full of power when touched. This is the ethereal force of this is the powerhouse of God. The entire machinery of God is from the 10th point downwards. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪವರ್ ಮೆಷಿನ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಪವರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಾಡ್. ಸೊ ದ ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಪವರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಾಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆ ಪವರ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ 10th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಪವರ್ ಹೌಸ್, ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇರೋದು ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೇಷನ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು 10ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಓದಿದಾಗ ಏನಂತ ಓದಿದ್ವಿ 10ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ? ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದ 10th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ರೆಡ್.
Like the house of God.
ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಯರ್ ದ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಈಶ್ವರ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟರ್ ಸೀಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಈಶ್ವರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ನೋ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಬಿಯಾಂಡ್. ಈಶ್ವರ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟರ್, ಅವನ ಪಾತ್ರ 10th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಗಿತು. ಬಿಯಾಂಡ್ 10th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಹಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ನೋ ರೋಲ್. ಈಶ್ವರ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟರ್ 10th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಡೌನ್ವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಪವರ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ 11th and 13th ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಫುಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಪವರ್. 10th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಇಂದ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಮ್ಯಾನಿಫೆಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಪವರ್ ಇನ್ ಮೆಟೀರಿಯಲಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್, ಇನ್ ಕಾಂಕ್ರೀಟ್ ಶೇಪ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ. ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್. ಸಗುಣ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮನ್ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸರಿ.
Cosmic yesterday session ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಸ್ಮಿಕ್ ಪವರ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಲೈ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ 6 and 10 ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ರಲ್ಲ.
ದೇ ಆರ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನರೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ನೇಚರ್.
Okay.
ಆ ಪವರ್ಗೂ ಈ ಪವರ್ಗೂ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಪವರ್. That is the power that's coming directly from the center through the first mind of God. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಪವರ್ ಬಂದು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಶಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್. ವೆನ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್, ಟು ಅಪ್ಕೀಪ್ ದೋಸ್ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಪವರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ನೇಚರ್ ಆಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್. ಈ ಡೆಮಿಗಾಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಾಡ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೇ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದು ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ 6 and 10. So don't confuse the power associated with these demigods with the power that is there in the mind region. The power that is there in the mind region is very powerful. That's why it is called as a powerhouse of God, godly creation. ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಪವರ್ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಯಾವ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಷನ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪವರ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದಂಗೆನೆ ಇಟ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್ಸ್ ಇಂಟು ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಕಲರ್ಸ್, ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಯೂಸ್, ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ sizes and shapes and patterns. Then the entire creation is manifested. So if there is a creator, he is called as Ishvara. But the creator also has a lot of other people supporting him. They are the demigods. Godly power ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ಅದು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ the cosmic powers. The cosmic powers manifest between the 6th and the 10th point. Clear? Problem ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ there is lack of words, dearth of words in expressing some of these things. So many times the same word is used. So until we actually catch the right context ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅರೆ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಪವರ್ ಅಂದ್ರು ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಪವರ್ ಅಂದ್ರು, ಇದ್ಯಾವ ಪವರ್ ಅದ್ಯಾವ ಪವರ್ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. That's what we feel. So that is you can say it's an undifferentiated power. You can say that this has differentiated power. That's all. That will be easy to remember. ಸರಿ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಓದಿದ್ದು 10th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಹಿಯರ್ ದ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಈಶ್ವರ್ ಆಸ್ ದ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟರ್ ಸೀಸಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದ ಈಶ್ವರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ನೋ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಬಿಯಾಂಡ್. ಸರಿನಾ? ಈಶ್ವರ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟರ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಲಿಟರಲಿ. ಈಶಾ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟರ್. ಸರಿನಾ? ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ವಿಸಿಬಲ್ ಮೋಷನ್ಸ್. ಅನುಭವ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ಆಯ್ತು. One of the biggest things that you get in the mind region is that your experiential power increases. Now look at it in a slightly different way. There is more power in the mind region, and as you come down into the heart region, there is differentiated power. Right? Now when you enter into the mind region, you are tapping into the higher power. Correct? When there is higher power, there is higher sensitivity. Now that higher power or higher sensitivity now gives you the ability to perceive all the things that is happening in the heart region much more clearly and vividly. Can you see? And that's why Babaji is writing that your Anubhava Shakti increases, your experiential power increases. Got the point? Seri. So gradually the calmness also becomes imperceptible. But then we go further. Further ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದಂಗೆನೆ we have to go towards a zero or nothingness. But when do we become zero or nothingness? When we ourselves become zero or nothingness, then we can actually align with the zero or the nothingness. But before that happens, the divine effulgence, ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಜನಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಡಾಸ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಟ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಪಾರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಡಾಟ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಇತ್ತಲ್ವ. ಈಗ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಟೋಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲೇನಿದೆ, ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜೆನ್ಸು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಮಯ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಸಮ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇರ್. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ದ ರೆಲ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡಿವೈನ್ ಎಫಲ್ಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. And then further journey is helped by the mind of God. The first mind of God will help our journey. It is beyond the ethereal sphere. So air does not blow here. ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಸನ್ 11ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಗಾಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಾಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಟೋಗಿದೆ. ಗ್ರಾಸರ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಗಾಳಿ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯ್ತು. 10ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಫೈನಲ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಗಾಳಿನೂ ಆಯ್ತು, ಸಟಲ್ ಗಾಳಿ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 11ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಹೋದಾಗ ಗಾಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದ ಏರ್ ಡಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬ್ಲೋ ದೇರ್. ಆಲ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಫೀಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಯಿಂಗ್ as a invisible motion. They're just kind of stationary. Motionless things appearing as invisible motion that excite vibrations are there and have great power. So motionless things are there, that's all. So ಇದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ you enter into the divine effulgence ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋದ್ಮೇಲೆ you enter into the central region. That's what the next chapter will be. ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಏನಾದ್ರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಬೇಕು. ಈ ಥರ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಮಚ್ ಈಸಿ. ಮೇನ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಡಿಡ್. ಬಟ್ ನಮಗೆ ಬರ್ಕೋಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿದ್ವಿ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ಗೆ. 8 ಬುಕ್ ಇತ್ತಲ್ವ. ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಬರಿಬಾರ್ದು, ಗಲಾಟೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್. ಸೊ ಯು ನೀಡ್ ಟು ರೈಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ ಎ ಸಪರೇಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಆಯ್ತಾ. ದೆನ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಈಸಿಯರ್ ಟು ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್. ಬಟ್ ದಾಚಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಬೇರೆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮೈಂಡ್ ರೀಜನ್ನ ಬಾಬೂಜಿ ಅವರು ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಬೇರೆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಸ್ಲೈಟ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್. ಸಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಮನ್, ಬಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್. 11ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, 12ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ವೆರಿ ವಿವಿಡ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ದಾಜಿ. ಸರಿನಾ? ಇಲ್ಲೂ ನೀವು 11, 12 ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಒಂದೊಂದೇ 1 ಪೇಜು 2 ಪೇಜ್ ಇದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಟ್ರೂತ್ ಎಟರ್ನಲ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ 11, 12 ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ಲಿ 1 ಪೇಜ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ನೋಡು, 12ನೇ ಪೇಜು ಒಂದೇ ಪೇಜ್, 12ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್. 11th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಒಂದೇ ಪೇಜ್, 11th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ 12th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಒಂದೊಂದೇ ಪೇಜ್ ಇರೋದು. 13th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ 1.5 ಪೇಜ್ ಇದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಫೈನಲ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಹೊರಟೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಸರಿನಾ? ಸೊ 11th to 12th ಓದ್ಬೇಕಾ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸತಿ ರಿವಿಷನ್? ಇಟ್ ಬಿ ಯೂಸ್ಫುಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯು ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ನೌ. So 11th point, having accomplished this, we now step into the 11th point. Off goes the wheel, and the vision of the reality now comes to light. We now feel helpless beyond control. A constant craving for him, accompanied by the aches and pangs, prevails every moment. There is no peace or rest without him. Truly speaking, peace has now departed from us. What remains instead is that may better be expressed as a condition of peace from which peacefulness is sucked out. That is exactly the condition of that knot which we experience and get it finally merged. What remains there now? Everything seems lost except the pang, which persists still and which is the only thing that helps us our onward march. It ends when we have plunged into the reality and moved on into the state of identicality. When that too is merged, we come into a state of refined identicality which marks our approach to the 12th knot. So essentially ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, the wheel is now gone. You can see the vision of the reality. But still, you can see the vision of the reality far off, not immediately. It's not like you are close associated with it. It's a bit further away. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸಮುದ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ದೂರದಲ್ಲಿ. You can see the ocean a bit further. You can feel the ocean also, you can see the ocean also, but you are still far away. You are not near the waters. That's how it is. That's the thing that happens in the 11th point. You feel helpless beyond control. ಏಕೆಂತಂದ್ರೆ 8ನೇ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ you have given you have surrendered to the master. So now the role of the master becomes more and more. So self-effort becomes less and less. So in other words, you now start becoming more helpless. There is no role for self-effort. It goes on decreasing. So you cannot put effort. You are entirely now becoming more and more dependent on the master. But still, ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಇವಾಗ? You have tested the divinity, condition of the divinity at the ninth and 10th point. You've had a taste of the divinity, but you have no ability to put lot of self-effort to move forward. But you can see the reality in front of you, the vision of the reality. Now that creates a lot of tension in the mind. So one of the things that we were saying is the best example for this is when you are in the best favorite hotel, having ordered the favorite dish, you are waiting for the dish to come. That is the condition of the 11th point. Right? You gone to your favorite hotel, you ordered the favorite dish, and that fellow is not bringing your favorite dish. It's been 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. You keep looking at the kitchen. Nobody's coming. Then you call the waiter. What happened to my dish? That fellow is not responding. You are getting irritated. Now you are getting it. That's exactly the pain and the craving that you feel at the 11th point. Next time ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಭವನ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ಫೀಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಎಲ್ಲ.
ಈಗಲೇ ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂಕಲ್, ಸ್ವಿಗ್ಗಿಲಿ
ಈಗಲೇ
ಆರ್ಡರ್
ಆಯ್ತಾ?
ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಓ, ಈಗ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಭವನ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ಯಾ?
ಅವಾಗ ಅಪ್ಪ ಏನೋ ತಗೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದೆ.
ಓ, ಅಪ್ಪಂಗೆ ತಂದು ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, ನೀ ತಿನ್ನಲ್ವಾ? So this is the best description. See, now normally we undergo all these things in the hotel. So 11th point condition is that state when you have gone to the favorite restaurant, ordered the favorite food, the food is not coming. So best way of describing in English is so near yet so far. That is the state of the 11th point. It is full of pain and restlessness. There is no peace there. And tamasha ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, before that you have just crossed the Sahasraral Kamal. You have bypassed the Sahasraral Kamal. You are supposed to feel happy. You've had a taste of happiness just before you reach the 11th point, because the Sahasraral Kamal is between 10th and 11th point. You had a taste of happiness, but by the time you come to 11th point and settle down there, there is no question of happiness. No peace, no happiness, nothing. Everything gone. Only full of pain and restlessness. And intense craving. So you feel like you want to go to back your home, which is the center, as early as possible. But you have not, you are feeling helpless. You cannot go. That is what happens. So 11th point, I have given you the scenario. 12th point is 12th point is like the camphor burning itself out. Karpura hachidre, when you burn the camphor, no, before it turns off itself, it burns brightly, and then suddenly it's gone. Exactly the same thing happens at the 12th point. There is intense desire for God. After that, it just disappears. So even the idea of God or wanting God now disappears. So that's the beauty of the 12th point. There's an intense desire for God, but then you cannot have God until you give up the idea of God. So the idea now burns itself out. You burn the idea itself now. With the intensity of your practice, at the 12th point, just like the ಕರ್ಪೂರ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಪ್ರವೀಣ್, ಕರ್ಪೂರ ಆರೋಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಉರಿಯುತ್ತೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆರೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾವ್ದನ್ನ ಕರ್ಪೂರ ನೋಡಿದ್ಯಾ ಪ್ರವೀಣ್? ನೀನ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ಯಾ? ನೀನ್ ತಲೆ ಅಲ್ಲಾಡ್ಸ್ತಿರೋದು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಡೌಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಇವನಂತೂ ನೋಡಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇ ಮಠ ಇದೆ, ಅವಾಗ ನೋಡ್ತಿರ್ತಾನೆ ಮಠದಲ್ಲಿ. ಆಯ್ತು, ಪ್ರವೀಣಿಗೆ ಮಠ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗೋ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ನಾನ್ ಮನೇಲಿ ಹಾಕ್ತೀನಿ.
ನೀನ್ ಮನೇಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀಯ? ಮಂಗಳಾರತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀಯ?
ಅದು ಮನೇಲಿ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಹುಳಗಳು ಬರಲ್ಲ.
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ಸೊ ಹುಳಗಳು ಬರಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಮಂಗಳಾರತಿ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಮಂಗಳಾರತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರು ಮಂಗಳಾರತಿ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ನಾನು. ಮನೆಯವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮಂಗಳಾರತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ ಅಂತ. ಆಯ್ತು, ನೋಡಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಏನಿದೆ, ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ look, next time when you burn a camphor, look at the camphor. When it's almost about to burn out, it burns intensely and then suddenly it goes. That's exactly what happens at the 12th point. It burns, the desire for God becomes very intensified and then suddenly it goes. Now you are left wondering, why has it gone? It has gone because only then you are now in sarupyata with God. That is what enables. Only when you give up the idea of God, you are enabled to enter into the central region. Otherwise, you are not enabled. As long as you have the idea of God intact, you cannot enter into the central region. You cannot say, I want God also. You have to give up the desire for God also. Right? Then you might wonder, how are we going to enter into the central region and journey there? That's entirely the remit of the master. It's the master who is supposed to take you there. And also, just now Babuji said that we start absorbing the power from the first mind of God. That also helps us. So, master's power, the power from the first mind of God, these are the two things that help us in our journey in the central region. Serena. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದೇ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು earlier people used to say, if you get the thought that you want to serve as preceptress, you are disqualified to be preceptress. ಈ ದಾರಿಯನ್ನು ಉಲ್ಟಾ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. You only apply ಅಂತ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, which is exact opposite of what it used to be. If an abhyasi were to go and tell the preceptor that I want to also serve as a preceptor, they would be disqualified from being preceptor. So see how things change over a period of time. Right. Anyway, this is the 11th point. 11th point ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ ಭವನ ದೋಸೆ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಡು ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಸೊ ನಿಮ್ಮೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ್ದೋ ರೆಸ್ಟೋರೆಂಟ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರೋದು ಪ್ರವೀಣ್? ಎಷ್ಟು ರೆಸ್ಟೋರೆಂಟ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್, ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಂತ. ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಒಂದ್ ಇರ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ಫೇಮಸ್ ಊರಲ್ಲಿ.
ಕಾಮತಿ ಏನು ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ ಹೋಗೋದಪ್ಪ, ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ತಲೆ ಕೆಡ್ಸ್ಕೋದಿಲ್ಲ.
ನೋಡು, ಅಷ್ಟು ತಲೆ ಕೆಡ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರೆ 11th ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ಪ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ ನೋಡು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ಯುಟಿಲಿಟಿ ಉಂಟು ಲೈಫಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯ್ತಾ. Now the 12th point. Now we arrive at the 12th point. What is there? It is the merging point of all the things acquired at different stages of merging and identicality. So all the conditions that we have acquired in all the other 11 points now merge into one. We now enter automatically into the state of refined identicality, or ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಯುಜ್ಯತ ಅಂತ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಸಾರೂಪ್ಯತ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೋ, where the panorama is so much vested with purity that even simplicity may seem to be 100 times heavier. So there is initially simplicity, and then purity also is there. But then the simplicity, the purity is so much that simplicity itself appears heavy. So 12th point is there are 4 things. You are an epitome of purity, epitome of humility, epitome of love, epitome of simplicity. All the 4 will be there. But then the purity, as it increases, simplicity also now becomes very heavy. Right? If any other more appropriate word may be available to denote the condition further on, that too must be many times heavier than even simplicity. Now we proceed on with our refined identicality and begin to perceive a new form of existence which comes to our experience at the next part. Again, now you are outside the realm of the body consciousness and the mind consciousness and the soul consciousness. Now you got a new level of existence, which is your original existence. That is your true identity. That is what you start perceiving now, the true identity, your original identity. That identity is nothing but the sarupyata, our original sarupyata. So we enter into our state of sarupyata after we have actually acquired the sarupyata in this journey. Now nenne maatadidivalla gnapaka idea, 1 to 5 is salokhyata, 6 to 10 is samipyata, 11 to 13 is sarupyata. When we get that sarupyata, we now enter into the central region, and our journey is with that state of sarupyata through the central region till we enter into the center itself after crossing the Kshobh. we enter into the infinite ocean or the latent motion where we acquire ಸಾಯುಜ್ಯತ. ಸರಿನಾ? You are clear about these four realms. ಸರಿನಾ? So that is what happens. So when you enter into the central region, when you have shed all the things at the 12th point ಅಲ್ಲ, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, we acquire a new state of existence. That new state of existence is what you start feeling that we are eternal. You go beyond the concept of life itself now. You are absolutely convinced that that existence that you are now at is eternal in nature. Now you can say that you have crossed the question of life and death. Both are now gone. The idea of life and death, both are now gone. When both are gone, you are now said to be in the state of living dead condition. See the contrast. Life, the idea of life is gone. The idea of death is gone. Now what you acquire is a new state which is called as living dead condition. Now you cannot say whether it is living or it is dead condition. It's a living dead condition. You got the point? So from that living dead condition, we actually manifest life. From that realm. Does it make sense? So the concept of life and death both are gone. Then we can say that you are in the state of living dead. So what is there in the living dead condition? Only our true identity. That's all. With awareness. That is what happens. So we have read the 11th and 12th point in conjunction with the mind region. That probably will make it easier. ಸರಿನಾ? So ಏನಾದ್ರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. Any question? Hope it is clear though. I don't want to rush through because some of these things you will not get to go to it again in so much detail. I think I'm just kind of going slow and then reading from the other parts also.
All this can be again understood depending on our sensitivity and our journey. Those things again will be revealed in due course of time.
Right. Because as we grow higher and higher, our sensitivity also grows. So sensitivity is not a unitary thing or a static thing. It's a very dynamic thing. The kind of sensitivity that you have in the heart region is different from the thing that you have in the mind region and different from the central region. The sensitivity also is a very dynamic quality that has to grow as we grow in spirituality. Okay, just remember, every quality is dynamic. We talk about moderation, it is dynamic. We talk about balance, it is dynamic. We talk about lightness, which is dynamic. We talk about calmness, it is dynamic. We talk about peace, it is dynamic. We talk about intuition, it is dynamic. We talk about clarity, it is dynamic. Every condition is dynamic. And that's the beauty of the system. In other words, as we go higher and higher, each of these things should become incorporated into that quality. So the kind of balance and moderation that you feel, say at the second point, is different from what you feel at the fourth point, or the sixth point, or the eighth point. So, for example, just from a materialistic world perspective, we say that irrespective of how we go in our journey, we maintain balance of the mind. Correct alva? High school, college, ಎಲ್ಲ ಓದ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ balance of the mind maintain ಆಗಬೇಕು. If the balance of the mind is now gone, then we say that that person has become mad. Madness is nothing but an imbalanced state of the mind. That's all. So when we give sittings, what happens? The mind gradually loses all its tendency for imbalance, get into a balanced state. In other words, that's why when we give sittings to people who are mentally ill, by like depression, anxiety, that aspect of those illness gradually disappears. The mind comes into balance. It returns to its original healthy state. That's why the sittings are highly effective, even in patients who have developed mental illness. Because mental illness is imbalanced state of mind. You give regular sittings and clean the mind, clean the heart, the mind go come back into the balanced state. That's all. ಸರಿ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ನೇನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆಯಾ?
Uncle, I think you had mentioned earlier that in other sittings that you have to develop the sensitivity for feeling as well as vibrations as we go along the higher region. You have to observe.
You have missed our acronyms.
Oh, sorry.
You have missed out in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
ಪ್ರವೀಣ್ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ
CMC,
acronyms?
SLV.
ಈಗ ಹುಡುಕ್ತಾನೆ ಅವನೀಗ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ನೋಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಹೇಳು.
CMC, SLV.
ಗುಡ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆನ್
Consciousness.
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆನ್ ಸಂಸ್ಕಾರಸ್
And
Consciousness.
ADA.
ಅಡಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಜನರಲ್ ಅಡ.
That is the level of
ಕೆಲಸ ಆದ್ರೆ
consciousness.
Samskaras.
ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಆದ್ರೆ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ? ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್?
Your tendencies might drop out.
ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಸರಿ, ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಗಿವನ್ an acronym for that also. ಅದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ಯಾಷನ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 1 week we've been discussing this. So when the work on the samskara occurs, you can remember it as sprite. Sprite. ಸರಿ. Sprite ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೀನರೀಸ್. Many people describe various sceneries in the meditation. What was your experience of meditation andre they'll describe various sceneries that they saw. ಆಯ್ತಾ? P ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ patterns. You see circular pattern, triangle patterns, various patterns inside. That is P. R is you feel restlessness / jerks during meditation. Okay, that is SPR. I is you see images of gods, images of people, various images you see. And then T is thoughts. You get thoughts during meditation. And E is emotions. So when the work is occurring on samskaras, these are the 6 things that you can feel. Most of the abhyasis describe any more 1 or 2 of these things in every setting. So when the work is occurring on consciousness, it is CMC SLV. When the work is occurring on the samskaras, it is sprite. General characters of the sitting is ADA, awareness, depth of meditation, and absorption. In general, when you give sittings to people, you will see that any experience of the sitting is described in these 3 only. 1 or more of these 3, that's all.
What is ADA?
ADA is awareness, D is a depth of meditation, A is absorption. So ADA means what we do exactly in meditation is ಅಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ? ಅಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? ಅಡ ಇಡೋದು ಅಂತ.
Keep something in.
Correct. What do you mean by that? What is the English word for that? ಅಡ. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ವರ್ಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು?
Mortgage.
Mortgage. So what we do in meditation is that we mortgage our mind to the heart, our own heart. And we mortgage our heart to Master's heart. This is all that we have to do in meditation. Once you are able to do these 2 things, your journey is finished. Praveen has now gone to get his mortgaged heart back.
No, brother. Somehow my internet suddenly went bad, so I just off.
ಏನಾಗ್ತಿದೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ? ಇವತ್ತು ಆವಾಗಲಿಂದ ಟರ್ನ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆನ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ.
ಏನು ಸಡನ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಸರಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತು.
So now only two steps actually in our journey. Keep your own mind as a mortgage to your own heart. First step. Second step is now that heart which is now been where the mind has been mortgaged to, you give that as a mortgage to the master's heart. That's all. ಎರಡು ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮುಗಿದೋಯ್ತು ನಮ್ದು. ನೀವು ಏನು ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಉಳಿದಿದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಇಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಎ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಜರ್ನಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಒನ್ಸ್ ಯು ಡೂ ದೀಸ್ ಟೂ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್, ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ವಿಲ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ ಆಟೋಮೆಟಿಕ್ಲಿ. ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ವರಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೈಲ್ ಯು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಹಡ ಇಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಟೇಕ್ ಲೋನ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? Generally, when do we actually take a mortgage? When we take a loan, alva. So when we actually mortgage our heart to master's heart, we have taken so much loan from the master for our spiritual journey that throughout our life we are not able to repay it. ತಿರುಪತಿ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ವರನ ಹುಂಡಿ ತರ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತು? So throughout your life, you go on repaying the debt of the master, and that debt is inexhaustible. Right? So all that you will do is throughout the life you will end up working for the master. That is what is supposed to happen. ತಿರುಪತಿ ಹುಂಡಿಗೆ ಈ ಈ ಕಲಿಯುಗ ಮುಗಿಯೋವರೆಗೂ ಅವ್ನು ಸಾಲ ತೀರಿಸಲ್ವಂತೆ. ಅವ್ನು ಇನ್ನೆಷ್ಟು ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದ ಅಂತ. ವಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ ಇವನ್ ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಲ ಮಾಡಿದ ಅಂತ. ದಟ್ಸ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ, ನೋ? That Lord Venkateswara borrowed so much loan for his marriage that in spite of all the money that people give to him, till the end of this Kali Yuga, we are not able to repay his debt. That's exactly the scenario that we will be in, where Master would have given us so much in terms of loan that we are not able to repay his debt throughout our life. So what then happens is, not only you work for him here, when you go to other realms also, you continue to work for him there. That's all that happens. So that is the importance of the Ada. Ada in one way is awareness, absorption, and depth of meditation. But Ada in other way is mortgaging our mind to our own heart, and then mortgaging our heart to Master's heart. And take such a big loan from him that you will not be able to repay throughout your life. How to repay the loan? Work for him. That's all. Sarina. So these are the three words to remember. SLV ಅಂತೂ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ. SLV ಮರೀಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಆಯ್ತು. CMC SLV. ಎರಡನೇದು ಸ್ಪ್ರೈಟು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ. ಆಡಾನು ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So 3 words to remember. And when you become perceptress, what you will see is that when you ask an Abhyasi to describe their experience of meditation, they will describe among these only. Most of it will be described among this only. Same.
What is generally so Ada is in the general meditation, is it?
Ada, most of the people talk about it. I had a very deep meditation. I was very absorbed in meditation. These are the things that they say. But the Ada generally does not indicate the journey itself. It just gives you a general flavor of how the sitting was. It does not indicate what kind of work was occurring in the consciousness or the samskaras. It's a very general thing. Okay? ಇನ್ನೇನು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ರೀಜನ್ಗೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗೋಣಂತೆ. We'll go into the central region in the next class. So any other doubts you can ask. So now you know the acronyms 3D, PCMB, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಗೆ. Mixture can definitely. In every session, it's a mixture of these three that people describe. You can observe. You can observe your own experience of meditation. You can also ask other people about their experience of meditation. It is always a mixture of these three, predominantly. But we were just wondering today morning, some new person, new Abhyasi had come. And they had come because they were getting too many thoughts. See the wonder of the system. So we just explained how to do the meditation, did the meditation. After the meditation, we asked the Abhyasi to describe their experience. They said few things. They forgot to say anything about the thoughts. So specifically I asked about what happened to the thoughts. And Abhyasi said, I did not get even one thought. And that's actually very rare to see. That within the first sitting, to almost be in a thoughtless state, it's a wonderful state actually to be in. And that's the beauty of the system, how powerful it is. That the mind literally quietens down. So it's not something that you see very often though. Occasionally you do come across this. But today was a very unique in the sense that the first sitting itself, the person was absolutely thoughtless. No other system of meditation can bring about this result. Remember this. Only this system. So today, one of the doctors we were just discussing in the morning. So he was saying we are so lucky to be born in India, which is the spiritual hub. So he was saying he sent me some video where Daji said the situation is more conducive for spirituality in America than in India. So he was very happy about it. So he was actually he sent me that video. Then I told him, see, being conducive is one thing. Actually being spirituality manifesting is another thing. So I said, having a potential is different. Manifesting the potential is different. And India has always manifested spirituality. Forget about conduciveness. It's always manifested spirituality. Then I told him about something that Babuji has written, that it's the Deccan Plateau which came out from the ocean as the first earth, first part of the earth. And we are all born in Deccan Plateau. Then he was even more happy. Oh, we are all born in Deccan Plateau. How lucky we are. We are born in India. We are born in Deccan Plateau. So I said, yes, you don't even realize how lucky you are. And to be born as a human being is such a big blessing. To be born as a human being, to be born in India, to be born in Deccan Plateau, to be born in to a master, and to have this particular system. And these are not coincidence. He was telling me how the situation is so conducive. Our generation has had the best of everything. And he said the next generations might not necessarily have this. And he was actually correct. We are having the best of everything, both materially and spiritually. Okay? Okay, pa. Bye then, Yashas. Have Yashas in your pre-work. Bye then. So either a discussion ನಡೀತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಲ್ಲಿ. We have these kind of discussions. So he was asking me about Khana. He's a new Abhyas, he's an oncologist. He was asking me about Khana, where is it, how did it come about, how many years has it been there, all these things. So I told him if you want to visit with some Abhyasi, then you will find it actually easy to go around and get to know many different things in Khana. Rather than just visit like a tourist place. You might not get to know many things. So anyway, it was interesting. Some of the discussions. Okay, so we shall stop here now. 183 page number. We shall continue from next session. Okay. So have a nice